goes. We will start games in just a little bit. Are we starting games?
We're in game!
We're in game.
We're just teasing you guys for a little bit. But yeah, no, it's amazing to see how young some of these players are who can still perform incredibly well. I think, Double 61 was the player, I think, who sort of drew the attention in that kind of direction to say that, you don't necessarily need years and years of card game or strategy game experience to come in and make a big impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. So looking at this opener from PES so far, right, you're looking at a chain mass, which is probably like my preferred opener right now. I think like playing around defensive items is by far, it's going to be the thing that you're the most happy about, preferred. Also, again, has that early Silas, so it's only one mage away from having a pretty solid mage opener. It's going to sell that Celia, though.
Yeah, we have currently one Swift shot, and that's something I've been missing for all of today. I would really like to see that Swift shot Yone that we talked about earlier on, Peter and Rita, right? That would be so fun.
We were teased with that really heavily by having the Spatula lobby before. I was amazed that nobody decided to go for that, because when you look at the numbers which are coming out from that competition, it's absolutely ridiculous. Of course, the thing is, makes, as you said, we can't necessarily expect to see that, every game or nearly perhaps any games coming through here today. I'm sure we will see it at some point during the tournament, though.
Also, worth not only looking at this board right now, right? Take a note at the top right corner of your screens right now. Pirate's Greed for Mirage. So in terms of the late game, this means you can have the most capped out boards potentially, but it's just a very nice flex in the early game. If you get an early Yone with a Leona, it is a very solid economic trade and very easy also to flex out of because it's not very high commitment. And these are some choices. Okay, go with you, Lotus. Makes sense.
Okay.
We've received word from production that we are finally in the Nomsy Mage Land.
I love the Nomsy Mage Land. Nomsy in general, it's so good to have Nomsy as a dragon now. She gets the credit that she deserves, and now with the Mage grind, really desirable as well, right?
I do wonder, though, based on certainly what we've seen from other lobbies when Nomsy Mage becomes available, it can become extremely popular across the field. So we're keeping a close eye on seeing if, more than one different person decides to go down this route and how much they will slow each other down by.
We are meeting some players here now, and we can see Balotelli has found two Olafs with a Rage Blade already here in round 2-1.
Also has Metabolic Accelerator as well, right? So it's going to be very healthy all throughout the entirety of the game, pretty much, right? He's going to win this fight, which again means he's technically lost value on his augment, right? So that is... what a disaster. I want to talk about something different here, right? From Mujiwara's perspective, though, right? Has 2 Mirage on the bench right now. He is... Again, he actually did not winning. Okay, no, man. Talia early game is broken, apparently. But, has the 2 Mirage he could be putting in, right? Instead of playing the 2 Bruisers. So he's losing out on the economy aspect when he's holding so many different economies, traits on the bench. Speaking of economy traits, there's a Kaiser 2 in the shop for Balotelli.
Oh, boy.
It's not going to be picked up, right? I think that is safe.
No,
they might. Okay, I am just calling everything incorrectly left, right, and center right now, but I am excited to see this. Kaiser's one of those units right now that I feel like has kind of taken her space in the metagame, right? She's a very solid early game item holder, and, Cistrino, level 5, has the Dark Side Essence online.
We've been seeing a ton of this coming through, of course, today. So it's the Cannoneer emblem that's going to be sacrificed there, though, not absolutely perfect, but still pretty solid. I personally love the Kaiser as well, but of course, when you've got Rengar running around in the early game, it's going to be hard to make any backline carry stick around.
Yeah, Balotelli will face the receiving end here. Is on a little bit of a loose streak angle in the third PvP round that is coming in, and has a lot of potential gold to work with here to get that econ back up. We will see players differentiate here a little bit. Pes and Raiko currently still on 100 HP, have not lost yet. And of course, the metabolic for Balotelli just helping him here. He doesn't necessarily need to win. He will get that economy from the lose streak and look very good on health due to the metabolic.
One thing that was kind of jumping out at me a little bit here is, maybe we'll get a chance to see this more, is we've got, some Astral on the bench for Raiko, but we're not seeing a ton of Astral on the field around the board, at least so far on screen.
I mean, you look at the board here, right? Like, yeah, like he's just playing strongest board, and that doesn't include the Astrals because he is selling them off now. It's also worth noting that kind of around this 2-3 point is where people are going to be making the decisions in terms of like how they're going to play out the rest of stage 2. So like which units are they holding, because they need to make, like making 10 here is going to be super impactful for most players if they're not running an economy trade, right? Because they just have to at least start getting that econ train rolling somehow.
Yeah, and it is rolling for Raiko. Karma finishes off that Astral with the last hit of the statics coming through as we go into the first carousel. Raiko is the only player to stay on that 100 HP, which of course means he will be last pick in the carousel, and Zyko and Kubixon will have a little bit of a favored choice here. No Spatula though, so maybe this isn't the Swift Shot Yone game that we were secretly hoping for.
We can keep promising enough times, eventually it will happen.
If I just say it often enough, right, Murdoch will come in and throw a spatula into our tournament. That's how it works, no?
We just needed to convince him to pull the lever behind the scenes, but he's been, he's been letting us down a little bit.
I want to highlight something right here as well. Balotelli is at 98 HP. Oh, he's at back at 100. He has just been living... Okay, he did win the round. It's because of the fact of how metabolic ticks. So I was about to say he's just been like getting like perfect loss after perfect loss after perfect loss, right? Like he has just been like, he's in a very good spot. Look at this, like we were talking about the Kaiser 2 now, has a rod on it, can kind of go wherever he pleases from here, right? Like that is the big upside of his position.
What I really like about this kind of approach from Balotelli is, of course, these players are towards the top of the table, so all they're really trying to avoid at this point is having a couple of really bad games to end the day. And for Balotelli, that feels like that's almost impossible based off that start.
Yeah, I mean, like Guida just said, all of the options are currently open to Balotelli. That can be a benefit. It can also be a little bit of a difficulty, right? Because if you take too long to lock yourself into something with all of the options that are currently open to you, you might miss the point where we're actually able to hit units. But we're not that far ahead yet. We are still in the first couple of PvP rounds, meeting some of the players for the first time and seeing what they're up to. We just saw the Mage Crest on the enemy board. And I would like to check in with Raiko and see what he's up to, because he keeps streaking on that 100 HP.
Oh,
and there it is, the Shimmer Scale Karma with the Draven's Axe.
It's the axe? Oh. Draven's Axe is always interesting, right? Like, sure, the economy aspect of it has been nerfed quite significant, right? I think it's only 5 down from like 7 or 8, whatever it's been in the past. But getting those extra components is just so impactful. And I love this. Also love this aggressive leveling. This is classical Raiko. Like this level 6 here. Just guarantee the streak, get that gold going, because you know that you are gonna be getting a lot of gold from that Draven's Axe in the future.
I mean, it's definitely Draven's Axe is one of those items that could easily be put down to 0 gold as a reward and still be an absolutely fine pickup. I mean, for Raiko, this isn't the perfect setup here. We've got, kind of 8 AP itemization combined with the raw AD, but it doesn't matter at this point, at least, and it's going to keep Raiko rolling. Their win streak remains intact, though their money in the bank is a lot less healthy.
Hear me out here, okay? Never heard about before. Incredible big brain strat. Get yourself as low as you can in gold, so you have as few like AD stacks in the Draven's Axe as possible, to get more attacks off because your targets die slower.
Oh,
I don't think it's good or anything like that, but like get like
my brain still did not comprehend that, but I'm just going to say okay and move on here.
I'd love to think that's what the reasoning is here. I suspect it might be a more of a circumstance thing, but I mean, circumstances have been very kind to Raiko so far. I mean, they're looking really, really good. As we look across the economy, across the board, you can see that most people don't have a ton of money left in the bank. Nobody's up at 50. Rick's with the most money in the bank, and Zyko at the bottom on the 5-round losing streak is economically okay, but everybody else is pretty middling in terms of their liquid value.
Your liquid value. Okay.
Yeah, they're liquid assets.
First time I heard you say that on broadcast, but I'm
trying to make it a thing, Mix. I'm trying to make it a thing.
Yeah, okay. We're going to roll with it. The liquid assets that come in the face of hard coins here in the TFT world. Mujiwara, as you said, on those 13. But slowly and surely, the HP difference is showing up, right? We see Raiko still on 100. Balotelli, due to the metabolic, also still on 100, and then on the other side of the lobby, players are already below the 80s, 76, 74 for Zyko and Zestrinho, which isn't necessarily something to worry about. We see this a lot from players where they go for early on, lose streaks, try to get that economy really up and rolling, or just don't really know where they're going yet, and what they have found isn't the strongest variance of an early to mid-game board, so they haven't really found out where they want to go. But we can see it. Zyko is on that 6 loss streak as the second augments come in, and it's going to be silver augments here.
Oh boy.
It was not him where he rolled.
No, I thought for a second he had, but I think just checking back on the board. Tiny Tysons would certainly allow you to spend a lot more time with all this big pile of money, and that's what Zyko is going to be going with, as they finally will arrive on something approaching a Mirage board with a big wad of cash in their pocket. Well,
that is a Nomsy. And this is kind of consistent with what we saw from previously with Mujiwara on stream, right? Where they were playing the Zone board, right? Like, so seems like to be a player that tends to lean AP, I suppose, right? So getting this Mage Nomsy going for herself here is going to be pretty okay.
I'm just sorry for derailing this. I love Mage Nomsy. I love that we can slam items on Nomsy now. I missed that for all of 7-0. But I just saw something in chat that I need to shout out. I cannot do any differently, because I just saw our co-caster, Impetuous Panda, say in chat he's violently shaking his head, but I don't care. He's violently shaking his head. He said if we get to 40k viewers, he's going to do a Nidalee cosplay. So he didn't say today. Just if we this weekend get to 40k, we're gonna do a Nidalee cosplay on our fellow co-caster. I can't wait.
Did he say this, or did you say this?
He said that.
He said it. Oh my gosh.
Viewers heard I'll do Nidalee cosplay if we reach 40k. That's in chat by Impetuous Panda, our dearest co-caster. So yeah, that's what's going on. Please, again, tell your grandma, tell your friends to tune in. Can't wait to see that cosplay. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, now we can go back to talking about the Mage Nomsy.
Oh my gosh, stretch goals. Well, we've got a couple of Nomsies coming through here, as expected. So Rick's in there as well. I think we saw a couple of players picking augments which really pushed them in this kind of direction. So it's going to take a little longer for Nomsy to hit the 2-star, but when she does, she's going to deal incredibly well with clumped up boards like this.
You've already seen 2 people on it as well, right? Like, Mage Nomsy is going to be like one of those incredibly consistent boards, because effectively speaking, she is a free cost, right? Which means that there is a pretty large pool of it, which also means that a lot of, like, it can support a lot of players in the process. Which just means that it's just going to be like, it doesn't take a whole lot for the players to become stable.
Oh, see.
Yeah. But for Rix, for example, he does have the Mage Crest, and that's just so nice to have that extra Mage Crest if you are looking into the direction of just going for straight up mages, which Nomsy allows you, since she gives you the extra mage of Heimerdinger as well. So just buffing up to 7 mages is really easy if you have a Nomsy that is Mage Variant and also has the Mage Crest. So for Rix, I think that is the perfect setup to go into this comp.
It's worth noting as well that Nomsy will share her AP with her summoned unit as well. So, yeah, if you've got things like Archangels, you've got things like Mage 7, that's going to be a good amount of damage. And, of course, crowd control coming out from the Heimerdinger, which, of course, as we saw towards the end of the set 7, could be one of the most frustrating units to play against because of the amount of stunning and killing he would put towards the back line.
Also, like, I've had some games where, like, that Heimerdinger has just dealt, like, way too much damage, right? Just because of, like, that shared AP aspect. So, stage 3-5 hit here, we're going to see a couple of people start going towards those level 7s, just to try to get ahead of the curve, start rolling for their stuff, and just try to, like, improve what, like, their game situation, right? So, Sestrinio, I think that's 4 people so far going to level 7 and 3-5. That is kind of extreme to a certain extent, right? Wait, is Pez our 3rd player on Nomsy so far?
Yes. That's the level we've seen.
So
I think that's maybe why we're seeing the levels being pushed, because people want to get up to the point where they can get the Nomsies faster.
I also want to talk about something here, right? Axiom Arc is an augment that was really underutilized in the start of in the previous sets, even when it got buffed and stuff like that, right? But like with Nomsy, due to the explosiveness of Nomsy's ability, right? Like she just generates so much mana from Axiom Arc a lot of the time that it really does help elevate the composition.
I think it does as well also make it very feast or famine, though, because if you're getting the kills, you're getting more casts. If you're not getting the kills, then it's then you can easily end up being run over. I think the difference between a round where when you're winning and losing becomes that much more stark because of that.
Yeah, exactly. So while Axiom Arc wasn't really favored at the beginning of set 7, it was then buffed, and now I feel like people are a little bit more comfy with it, and especially, like you were saying, Peter, the explosiveness, the volatileness of Nomsy, where you can actually just like pam, 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 kill several units in one shot. It'll just spike up your mana and make sure you can kill more. So that's always a good thing if you're trying to beat an enemy board. But let's take it away a little bit, and we don't only have Nomsies here, right? We talked about it earlier. It is Pirate's Greed, Mirage, if I'm not completely mistaken here. And we are seeing Raikou on a Deja angle here.
And they were on a win streak up until that point, so I think trying to cash in on their position to make sure they, I think at some point, Raikou was not going to be able to make it through the entire game unbeaten, so it does make sense to dip into Mirage, get a little bit more money for when you're inevitably going to have to transition from playing to keep your win streak to instead now playing to win the actual lobby.
Absolutely right. And I think this right now, this is going to be a lobby where we're going to be seeing a lot of people trying to angle towards Mystics, right? Like, so sheer U-boards might go up in priority because of the fact that they're like relatively hard to kill. They, it becomes pretty easy for you to start, like fitting in the Mystics. But even then, comparing this Jade situation right now to the Jade situation of the last set, right? Like, since you can no longer just flex in a Lulu, for example, from Mystic and Evoker in that combination, right? Like, you have to do a little bit more work for it to fully get into position. And now 4-1's coming through here. People are going to be rolling. They want to hit their Nomsy 2s here. I'm going to see Mujiwara. He's 1 off.
Yeah, keeps on rolling. There it is. Nomsy 2 being found for Pez, for Mujiwara. But we have one more player who is on that Nomsy angle if they haven't left off. Rix should also be looking for that Nomsy, should he not?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and that's going to really hurt them. You can see Rick's left with just a couple of little Nomsy friends up against Mujiwara, who says, hey, I got the newest Nomsy 2 in. Oh, how awkward.
It's not exactly ideal, right? Also, it's pretty interesting here, something I want to talk about, right? Itemization for Nomsy, because I feel like healing is super critical. But you look at the way Rix has done his itemization here. He has Pandora's items, which means that he has chosen to put these items on here. And I don't necessarily think that is incorrect by any stretch of the imagination here, right? I think that just going for any sort of raw AP plus mana generation is totally okay. It's just kind of different. Ease is a lesser blessing, right? Yeah, okay. Ease is a lesser blessing. Now you have the healing and another too. And this is what we're talking about, right? Like, since Nomsy is a free, is technically a free cost, so should I say, it is very easy to hit this as a stabilization marker. Now the issue becomes, how do you ensure that you are not the one that ends up going bot 4 from this position, right? Because you start looking around the lobby and your board kind of looks like every other board in the lobby just because everyone is playing the same thing, right? Like, you need to get that Silas 2 online, you need to get better frontline items, stuff like that. So just see how this game is fully going to pan out from here.
We've been talking already about how everyone's been contesting each other. We're left in a position still with a Silas 1 on the front line, and we've got currently the Mage spat being put onto Skarner, which is not the world's worst because it's allowing you to get more Astrals in, but this is definitely a board that can get stronger up against this Pez's board, who you can say the exact same thing about. They've also got a Silas 1 holding up the front line, but it will go in Rix's favor this time.
Another thing that's worth noting here, right? Nomsy's targeting is random, which does make it kind of frustrating to a certain extent, right? Because there is so much, there's so many things in the game where, like, okay, positioning is super important to ensure that my unit attacks this unit, stuff like that. But then the Nomsy comes in and can just randomly alt your enemy's backline and just win the fight off of that, right? And sometimes you just is very focused on killing the front line for some reason, right? So that is something you have to keep in mind when you are looking at these Nomsy boards.
Yeah, third augments now have all been picked, and I'm just staring at them, and I want to check in with Kubikson because I see 2 scale scorn emblems on his augments, and that usually means something that makes me very happy. He's currently on 57 HP, not necessarily dominating the lobby, but we have an Olaf with a Bloodthirster and a Rageblade. We will figure out how many stacks he has on that Olaf as of right now. Another copy on the bench. Will definitely look to upgrade that to 30, but in a lobby where everyone else is looking for mages, I really like this choice from Kubikson here.
I mean, the setup here is really, really good. Scale Scorn 6 did get nerfed down to be a little less strong, but you're right, this is about as strong as the board could get. We've got the scoped weapons as well to effectively give a rapid fire cannon to the Olaf. So there's a huge amount of potential there. We're not even remotely close to how strong this board can get.
It's kind of funny, right? Because while some people view it as a buff that you can now have Scale Scorn dragons on the same board, there are some people who are like, this is kind of a nerf to base Scale Scorn, right? And it kind of is to a certain extent, right? Sure, 6 Scale Scorn is still incredibly strong. I do like the recognition of this position from Kubikson, but I mean, okay, everything here should be fine.
Also noting, he does have scoped weapons, so just buffing those scale scorns even a little bit further here. Really, really nice composition that is coming together here. He will just need to find a little bit more strength for that front line and then get that Olaf to 3. And I think this sport is looking very, very strong for him.
What I like as well with the scope weapons is we've also got the Hecarim in the mix as well, with the new recent change meaning that Hecarim can now cast more frequently. Being actually able to keep Hecarim away from the fight and attacking means we're going to get a whole bunch of extra ones in as we get the extra note again about Kubikson, incredibly young to be playing at this level of competition, but still not showing any fear at all of playing against the older players.
Yeah, just super impressive. I said it before going into this game, definitely one of the players that I'm looking forward to, and I don't mean just in this tournament or the EMEA Finals or Rising Legends Set 7, but generally in the next years of TFT, because if he's playing like this at 15, where is this guy going to be in a couple of years? I can't even imagine. He will take a win here, just absolutely slicing and dicing through the enemy units, but we might need to check in with somebody else. As Streamio, the Dark Horse pick from our dearest Panda, is now down to 38 HP, and I want to see what's going on over there.
Also, a quick note, right? You're talking about also 15, 16. Casey double 61, won world championship at 16, right? So
yeah,
you're never. It's age is not a deciding factor in how good you are. If you're good enough, you're going to get the results here. So Streamio's board, very traditional Darkflight Essence board situation going on here. Still lacking that Swain 2 to really help elevate himself, but pretty decent spot so far.
All right, we'll see what we've got here. So we've got the 3-item Rengar. We've got the 2 and let's 2-item Swain, since that Swain's not going to benefit really. But this Rengar's doing a pretty decent job. I think being able to access the backline is, of course, going to be very important in this particular setup, and this leaves Swain as the last unit standing. They do heal for a percentage of their max health, so they benefited from extra stats from all the Darkflight units. That Warmogs as well keeps them alive for a little bit longer. I think once they hit the Swain 2, then the rest of the lobby will be feeling the waves a little bit more. Oh my gosh.
This is just pretty good. Oh, you just take this. This is fine. I mean, you're kind of lacking a position for the New Zealand Rod, but it's kind of whatever, right? Another thing that's worth noting as well here, the Death's Defiance is going to be super critical in a lot of these Nomsy matches because like it's a very good anti-burst item, and due to the nature of that, it just means that yes, Rengar might die, but it does give Rengar more time to kill the backliners. That's something to keep an eye out for, as we do see a lot of like big upgrades coming through here, and it is a Chaos Dragon. That is worth noting, and that is going to throw a wrench into the mix for a lot of people.
Players are going to level 8 across the lobby now. We just saw past level up Sestrania also on the level 8 Angel. Balotelli is apparently also on a Dark Flight comp here and has just upgraded the Swain to 2 Dark Flight emblems. And you're seeing right here, Peter, that is scary.
The thing is, it's like you so rarely see this because as we see here, you need to have 2 Darkflight emblems to make it happen. All it actually does for you is get you a bunch of extra health on all of your units, which is good, but I don't know if it's actually... It's not like the kind of chase traits you'd maybe be expecting to see end the game immediately.
It's worth noting, right? It also does give you more units to feed Darkflight Essence too, without you having to play actual Darkflight units. You can play units that are of a higher quality. I don't think this board in general is as of that high quality when you look at something compared to Pixie's board, right? But like, on paper, it's not just the base HP. It does give you a little bit more flexibility in terms of like what you're trying to do. I will say, I think the Balotelli right now, with the Metabolic plus Soraka, he's trying to kind of just survive for as long as possible here.
Notably, he is missing something that's super key. Finds it here, at least Rengar too. That is supposed to be your main carry, and he was on 1 star, 2 items. That way, that kitty cannot claw its way through to enemy boards. It's just impossible. Swain also only on 1 item. So in general, it's a board that has potential, I would say. Again, a Darkflight, maybe not the craziest chase trade, but it has potential, and if he can get that Rengar and the Swain a little bit like higher itemized, or upgrade the Rengar even further, then that's definitely a board that could take out some of the Nomsies, I think.
Well, we'll see how it does. I mean, we've got the Ionic Spark there fusing at one of the slots in the Rengar, which isn't ideal. It does mean that Swain gets a little bit stronger later on, but all the time Rengar's going to be dead by that point anyway. We do see the Nomsy goes down pretty low in the exchange, and Swain stays up and fighting, so it will be around ending Swain most likely. No, Rengar survives to the end. Alright, apparently Darkflights, even if they're hanging on to the edge, are still going to make an impact.
We kind of saw some of the issues that you can kind of find with like playing this specific build into the mage boards, right? Because Rengar jumps to the lowest armor target, and Nomsy actually has a pretty high base armor due to being a dragon. And then, like, we have a lot of these squishy mages on the board. Rengar will just go flying anywhere, really.
I mean, that's his job, right? You want him to jump around and take out some enemy units. We are seeing from Sestrinio now the double Rengar kitty cat board, 1 with 3 items, 1 with 0 items, looking to just get a little bit more of extra strength as he does get that Darkflight Essence onto all of the Darkflight units, even if it's just a copy of one that's already on the board.
See how they do up against Deja, who has got scaling of her own. Raiko going to keep that Deja very safe in the backline to make sure she doesn't get jumped on by anybody too quickly, as the Rengar gets blown up immediately, and it's going to be down entirely to the Swain to get the job done.
I don't think he can do it. Both of the Rengars being taken out here. The Swain, keep in mind, is only Swain 1, and even though he does heal quite a bit, on the other side there's a Deja too that has a ramped up Archangels, a ramped up Rageblade, and she's just going brrr and annihilating that Swain in its path.
You know what? You know what the best part about that, right? It both doubles down as like a quick successive audio sound, and it's like a pigeon sound. You know?
She's a bird. I get it.
Oh my gosh! All right, well let's
Skell's got an emblem as well.
Oh boy!
This one already has 2. Should he really go for another one?
I mean, he has 1 emblem in a heart, so he can cut like a random unit he doesn't want to play.
Yeah, well, no, exactly what we were saying before, that this is effectively is a force of nature for them to be able to just cut one of the.
Doesn't want
honestly,
it though.
No, that's kind of surprising. I mean, is that a Swift Shot emblem? Yes!
I mean, I like how you guys are like bigging it up so much. So like to kind of pivot back to the point from Conviction's perspective, right? I think that obviously, like, you don't really need it. I think it was just like more of a for fun thing, right? Whereas Cavalier Emblem can kind of help you like elevate the rest of your composition, right? It kind of slots in, gives you like more frontline to work with, stuff like that. So I don't hate the choice, and I think Kubixon's probably made the right decision here. I just think it was kind of funny. Like, it was kind of a fun thing to talk about, regardless.
Well, I mean,
look at this Pantheon, though.
Yeah, the Pantheon's going to be ridiculously strong on the front line, and all they really need is time to work with. They'll have up to 3 items with the Infinity Force now as well. Should be hitting like a truck and very, very hard to access as well. See, just casually walking up the side of the comp, just ripping through everyone. Pez doesn't even stand a chance here.
I mean, you guys are talking about the Pantheon, and yes, I absolutely agree. That's a strong point of the comp, but I was looking at the Olaf and the Diana, who both just single-handedly, like, 1v2'd 2 of the enemy units. So it's not only the Pantheon that you need to be a little bit scared for here, it's also the Olaf, the Diana. It's just the entire board is strong, and depending on where that Diana jumps, you might not even be able to get away with some of the positioning. Now, notably, the spectating of Flicker. Ooh, Swain 2 being hit for Sestrinio. Maybe the chance to come back here. But the spectate flickering has been fixed, so you can't just hop on over quickly and spectate an enemy board without being noticed. That makes it a little bit harder for assassins to position.
Absolutely right. And it's also like a bit of a nerf to future sight, even though it got moved down a little bit, right? And I think, especially like talking about positioning, is super important for a composition like the Scalescorn one to ensure that you like are always on the right side. And like here as well, right? The second the Rengar gets to jump on here, I want to talk about something here as well. Last Whisper on Rengar is a really big thing as well, because it just means that whichever target Rengar is on will be the one with the lowest armor.
Yeah, so you can stick around and finish off the job.
The Swain. Sestrinio might get knocked out here if the Rengar and Swain combination cannot make their way through Pez's board. The Rengar will flop in just a second, cannot jump another time. It is all eyes on the Swain to try and stay alive, but the damage he does is really not that much. We are in the enraged area. Can he take out the Silas? Everybody's watching. They all came, and Sestrinio is able to hold on to his life with 7 HP.
Well, this is one of the big sort of question marks around the itemization we've got here. We've actually got an Archangels ready to go, which could be on that Swain to provide the kind of more inevitability. We've really doubled down on survivability here, and that's exactly as you say. The damage potential for the Swain is much, much lower as a result. So, I don't know. I mean, Strazinho has got so little room to work with here that I think they've made their bed, now they just need to lie in it.
I mean, it's also worth noting, right, that the more uptime you have on Swain, the more damage he'll deal, right? That's just kind of the nature of the unit. You don't have to put AP on him. The only reason why I put, like, Morello on him, for example, right, is just because of the fact that he just spreads it so effectively. It's not because you need damage here. Ideally, you would just have, like, I don't know, like 3 full tank items, for example, right? So it's not like you're running Swain as like an AP carry, you're just running Swain because he's Swain.
Yes.
I don't know. The thing is, I'm almost certainly going to be wrong because you're much better at TFT than I am, but I don't agree. I think that he gets a set amount of AP and things from the units dying, but he's really capped out in terms of what he's doing at the ends of rounds. And
just a quick note, Kuixon just hit a Diana too, and
really?
Psycho and Sestrinio might get both knocked out here. I know you guys are having a discussion, but I need to focus on whether or not we're gonna keep on going with 8 players in round 6-1. That is so intense what's going on here, and it's all eyes on Sestrinio and Psycho, who try to survive here. Looking really good for Sestrinio, taking out the only remaining enemy unit. So let's hop over to Psycho, who seems to be losing here, winning here. He seems to be winning. He also won 8 players in round 6-1. Wow.
Look at those HP totals.
Yeah.
And this is kind of wild, right? Because, like, sure, we're not going to have a lot of players moving into stage 7, right? But, like, somewhat, like, from, like, Mujiwara and down could all just die out, right? Like, this is so critical. And it kind of comes down to the fact that we've had a player with Tiny Titans, we've had some early Soraka's, and everyone is just playing the same compositions. All of these fights are really strong, like, really close. There's no, like, super dominant wins as well. As something we need to look into here, right? Like, again, these sports are interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, same. Oh no, it's either Pez or Zyko who will get knocked out here. All eyes on the enemy backline where the Renga is currently stuck on the Lux. It will be about the survivability of the two Rengas in the backline. One now on to the Nomzi, who are chewing their way through it, and this is looking really, really good for Zyko against Pes here. Only the enemy Silas is alive, and I'm pretty sure these Darkflight boys can take out the Meiji boy in front of them. That will be an out for Pes.
Oh boy.
As well. Okay, 3 plus out. Okay, I mean, this is expected, right? I think that there's like...
It had to happen.
It's like the most, okay, here, Peter, there's your preferred version of Swain. So,
there you go.
Take it away.
Well, so this version feels like we've gone in the completely opposite direction. I suppose instead of getting any HP in there, we've got the Hextech Gunblaze to stay alive. But I mean, you're getting a lot of HP back from just playing the trait in the first place. But we'll come back to that because we've got ourselves a scale scorn meal to chow down on. You can see it all across the lobby. Players are hoping it's not going to be them, and it turns out it actually isn't going to be any of them.
Yeah, we hopped on over to Zyko, who is on those 6 HP, currently facing off against Raiko. And it could be the end of the line for Zyko here in round number 5, as he tries and see anything against this enemy Deja. But the Shiryu with the Swift Shot emblem. And
yes!
Yeah, they've just ramped up so far. I don't think there's any coming back here now for Zyko. The Swain just trying so hard to stay alive, but it won't be enough. Zyko getting eliminated here in 5th place. Mujiwara following in 4th.
Yeah, honestly, right, like for a long while for Zyko, this game looked utterly doomed, right? Like, it looked like, okay, cool, it's an 8th, even though there was a Titans involved, and somehow manages to, make his way into a 5th instead, right? I think that is a huge win here. Same thing goes for Balotelli, right? Like, he has priority on the carousel, gets to pick up the Shroud. No Zephyr picked up, by the way, for any of the players as well. So really wants that final piece of damage here to Zoe as well. Talk about how Zoe helps elevate this composition earlier on. Kabixon holding those knobs as well here, just for the roll down, because it'll just be used to deny. Obviously would like to hit that Olaf free, but it's far from a given right now. Only one off, though. The time is there.
Oh, can he find it? One more. Come on.
I love there was the final roll in there as well, even though they would have had to start selling off their board to hit Olaf 3. That's how much they wanted it. Balotelli up at level 9. They have got the incredibly strong Swain on the back line. He's going to hit like a truck, but yes, more vulnerable if he does get focused. I don't think he's going to, though. Dana is working way through the back line. We do have the aggression onto the Swain. He gets his cast off, but he isn't that tanky, and he gets blown to pieces.
That was 3 units onto him. The Pantheon, the Olaf, and the Diana all onto that Swain. He couldn't stand a chance in that situation there, Peter. He was just getting completely knocked out by these scale scoring units from Kubixen, and we can see Raiko fighting this copy here, but actually having a little bit of a trouble.
I think that's the difference if the round goes long. If it goes long, then the Archangels is obviously, it's going to end up being amazing with Swain getting a recent buff to his numbers, so you're kind of multiplying them up with AP. But for what we got from Raiko here, I love this board. We were talking about we're going to have the pile of dragons comps. This is definitely one of the weirder approaches I've seen, but it's working super well.
This is a very traditional approach, actually, to a certain extent, right? So you use the Deja 2 as the item holder to find Aoshin 2, Sippy 2 for the front line. Unless you have Idas 2, for example, and then you're if you get the Terra 2 in, and that's Olaf 3!
Olaf 3 being hit by Kubixon. That's going to make his board so much stronger as we go into what could be Balotelli's final game. Currently facing off here, Kubixon and Raiko. Both of them are going to take significant damage if they get knocked out here. And all eyes are on to the Olaf 3 that has just been hit, surviving by the chances of that Bloodthirster. Now on to the Deja. He just doesn't care about any damage that's incoming, and Kubixon will find another win here, while Balotelli is being knocked out in 3rd.
And if Balotelli end up 3rd here, I think it's going to be over the average expected outcome, right, for him, and I think that is something he's going to be incredibly happy with. And we can see now the transition is being made here just in due course. There's no reason for him to sit on a Sippy 2. And now, okay, another Giant Stare is pretty good, right? Because again, these Dragon Balls that do tend to have a lot of HP, so the Giant Stare damage combined with the Scale Scorn damage and the damage reduction from the Scale Scorn, etc., is going to be a welcome change. A welcome addition, rather, sorry, should I say.
Oh boy. Solo, I'm really glad we get to see a full strength Scale Scorn ball coming and presumably taking the game here. We do have to level up on the Terra, which will be a good amount, and a second, let's see, so it's just the first level up on a potential slot in of our friend Soraka. Got some final decisions being made here by Raiko.
Yeah, he's toggling around the dragons he wants to play here. Did switch out an Aoshin, now back to Terra, just trying to find an upgrade to make that an Aoshin too. But we go into game, Peter. Let's see who takes it.
Alright, it's the full force of the Scale Scorn against the dragons themselves. Look for the massive cast coming out from the outshin on the back line. The stun, of course, will lock down most of the Scale Scorns. There's no Quicksilver. The Shyvana coming in from the skies creates a little bit of space, but the dragon damage may still be too much. The full force of the Scale Scorn starting to crumble, but the Olaf stays alive, heals himself back up, takes the lightning to the face, and Kubikson survives, but barely.
Did you see that Olaf damage? Or actually, Raiko finds the Aoshin too. That's just going to make his board so much stronger. The double Celestial helping him also. 3 items Aoshin. That is so crazy. I don't think Kubikson can do anything here. Does have 22 gold, but what are you going to do with that against these mighty dragons that Raiko has put up? Also has a Zephyr on the bench. Can use that whenever to try and get anything lifted up into the air if he so would like. In it goes. Diana is being taken out at the start of the round, and all eyes are on the Aoshin. Let's see when the lightning rain really comes crumbling. All of that damage onto the enemy unit, and there's just no seeing tomorrow for these Scale Scorns. It's down to Diana and Olaf, but they won't be able to survive here, and Raiko takes first place in round number 5.
I mean, it's kind of what we're looking into, right? The way that Raiko really recognized his position, what he needs to do, right? Like, had to get that Ocean 2 on the board.